We're live from Orange County, California. A huge crowd on hand for the 21st Beach Volleyball Tournament of the year. It's one of the biggest, the Miller Lite Seal Beach Open. A little earlier today, a huge upset. The ninth-seeded team in the tournament, Tim Walmer and Scott Friedrichsen, upsetting Karch Karai and Kent Steffes.
Nobody.
A tremendous performance by Walmer and Friedrichsen. Karai and Steffes not out of it, but their chances of breaking the record, 14 consecutive all-time beach wins, severely damaged. From Barcelona to the beach, Chris Marlowe back with Paul Sunderland. First, what happened to Karai and Steffes, and what are their chances now?
Well, after playing unbelievable volleyball for 6 or 7 weeks in a row, having won 13 tournaments during that period, the wheels fell off. They came out very uninspired on a very hot day in sunny Southern California, played awful volleyball, but you've got to give a lot of credit to Tim Walmer and Scott Friedrichsen. They just took the dream duo right out of the match.
That loss by Karai and Steffes set up our semifinal. Should be a good one. Tim Hovland and his new partner, Adam Johnson, going up against the big man, Mike Whitmarsh, and Brian Lewis, two brand new volleyball teams.
A couple of new teams. There's been lots of changes out on the Pro Beach Tour. Everybody trying to find a way to beat Karai and Steffes. Tim Hovland, 59 career victories, about 6'5", great jumper, blocking the key for his team. Playing behind defensively, Adam Johnson was superb last year. You saw him at Milwaukee. You saw him at Hermosa Beach. Great defender, also out of Southern California, like his partner. Now, Mike Whitmarsh, very interesting story. Until 1988, he was a professional basketball player at 6'7". He's a great athlete. He's got to block the ball extremely well, has excellent ball control. And Brian Lewis might be the most improved player in the world of Pro Beach Volleyball. Last year, he was 22nd on the prize money list. This year, up to 3rd. He can scramble. He can bomb the jump serve. He can scream and yell. And all these teams are very fired up because with Karai and Steffes now in the contenders bracket, they've got a straight shot through to the finals.
Karai and Steffes down, but not out of it in the double elimination tournament. But our matchup, Tim Hovland and Adam Johnson, Mike Whitmarsh and Brian Lewis. The winner moves into our final tomorrow here on NBC. Stay with us. Live volleyball coming up. Final action here at Seal Beach. The Pro Beach rules, 1 game to 15. You must serve to score, maximum 3 contacts. Players can't touch the net at any time, and a 9-minute game clock. Sudden death if the score is tied. Our first referee today, dancing, Marvin Hall. Of course, a very good dancer. Used to strut his stuff at the AVP tournaments. And our second official is Ken Knutson. Brian Lewis, one of our participants, and he is an interesting story.
And revenge on his mind. Tim Hovland, part of the opposition. Hovland and Johnson dumped Brian Lewis this past Monday, called him up and said, hey, we've played in 4 tournaments. We've done pretty well, but kid, you're out of here. I'm going with Adam Johnson. So revenge clearly on the mind of Brian Lewis, and he one of the most fiery competitors out on the Pro Beach Tour. I'm sure that's on his mind right now.
Brian Lewis, also one of the smaller players on tour. He's 6'1", 180 pounds. He told me he likes to go to the supermarket and stand in line and look down on people when he gets a little depressed about his height.
That's the only place he can find small people. I've heard of the big man shop. Does he go to the small people's market? He's a great athlete, playing with Tim Hovland, who has been great for years and years and years, can block, do all kinds of things on the volleyball court. But what has really separated Tim Hovland from his peers over the last 10 or 11 years is his ability to compete. Last year, he dislocated his shoulder. Most players would have missed 3 weeks or a month. He didn't miss a tournament, just came right out and played week after week.
One of the all-time greats, 3-time world champion, Tim Hovland. 83, 85, and 86. He won $153,000 last year, but he hasn't won a tournament since last year, and he is very, very hungry. So here we go, Brian Lewis to put the ball in play. 2-man beach volleyball, 21st tournament of the year. And right off the bat, Hovland is dug. Looking for a point is Lewis, and Hovland puts it right back at him.
Louis may be looking for some revenge, but Tim Hovland knows that story as well. First point scoring opportunity. Brian Lewis just ripping the ball and Hov all over him for the stuff block.
Hovland positioning himself at the net. Adam Johnson to put the ball in play. Johnson, 27 years old. Whitmarsh puts it through. Very, very hot today here in Seal Beach. Three of the players, well, at least two of the players now, Mike Whitmarsh and Tim Hovland. Well, Hovland has taken his socks off, the oldest fashion in beach footwear, the old socks. Dug by Lewis. Oh, and Whitmarsh pokes it over. Mike Whitmarsh with the flipper. 95 in the shade.
Smart move, I think, by Mike Whitmarsh, not only with the flipper, but wearing socks. You can get horrible blisters. Three-day event here in Seal Beach. Of course, we'll have the finals for you tomorrow, but I think pretty smart protecting his feet from the heat.
1-0 is our score. Adam Johnson, who normally would play the left side, he has switched to the right side in this tournament. How much will that affect him?
Well, I think he's one of the few players who can make that transition without it really bringing down the level of his play. The great Karch Kiraly, he says, hey, I'm a left-sider. I'm a great player on the left. I'm average on the right. Adam Johnson has great talent and versatility.
Hovland, he'll patrol at the net. They start off serving his ex-partner Lewis. And Lewis right down the line. Brian Lewis, just 24 years old. Went to Orange Coast College for a couple of years. Last year's prize money, $39,000. Done a lot better than that this year as he sets the foot in place. Got a deadly jump serve.
Best on the beach.
That time ticking the top of the net.
Conditions really tough on the players right now. Not only is it very, very hot, but it's also windy. It's gusting. Those flags really don't do it justice. We've had wind out here on the court up to 12, 15 miles an hour. Right now, Adam Johnson, Tim Hovland on the good side. The wind blowing in their face. They have a big advantage in terms of ball control.
Lewis taps it inside. So give Lewis a successful spike, a kill. And the ball will go to Mike Whitmarsh.
Strategy so far, Hovland and Johnson are going to serve. Brian Lewis, I think, for the most part, make Mike Whitmarsh at 6'7" and new to the game, set the ball, try to block the smaller Lewis.
It's tight. Hovland got it. Trying to get by Whitmarsh is tough. Whitmarsh, the second tallest player on tour at 6'7". Mike Mataraki, the former San Diego State star, at 6'8". Whitmarsh, in only his third year, has really improved.
Well, he had his first tour victory earlier this season. The only team to beat Kiraly and Steffes in the finals. He won the tournament in New Orleans with Brent Frohoff, but he's not just 6'7". He can sky, gets way over the net. Adam Johnson has to be very careful to set the ball a couple of feet off the net, give Tim Hovland some swinging room.
Lewis, and a nice little big shot. Now, Brian Lewis, who won his first official beach volleyball tournament this year, back earlier in the year in April with Pat Powers, the Clearwater Open. Brian Lewis and his partner split $30,000. What a payday. And inside the block, Hovland teases one.
You can see the players struggling with the ball control right now. The wind, again, will play such an important part in this match. Adam Johnson, Tim Hovland on the good side. They have a big advantage with the wind blowing into their face. The ball just doesn't move around nearly as much when the wind is in your face.
Whitmarsh, and Whitmarsh thumps it out of bounds. So a point scored by Adam Johnson and Tim Hovland on the hitting error.
Brian Lewis, a very good setter, takes almost every ball with his hands. Whitmarsh just trying to do a bit too much. Maybe the ball hung up in the breeze just a little bit, going over the top of Tim Hovland for the hitting error.
Tied at 1. And Johnson will be tossed. He won his first tournament last year with Pat Powers. Also won in Cleveland, Milwaukee, and the United States Championship. One of the big ones that was seen right here on NBC. Johnson Ludes over St. John Smith and Randy Stoklos. And that's an ace. So Johnson revving up his jump serve. Hovland and Johnson ahead by a point.
Last year, Adam Johnson had the best jump serve on the beach. Been struggling this year, not winning with the same kind of regularity. Had taken some of the heat off, but here with great location and trajectory.
Two serving one. Whitmarsh. And he taps it out of bounds. So Hovland and Johnson utilizing the serve, putting pressure on big Mike Whitmarsh.
Right now, Whitmarsh is just not passing the ball well enough. Just like we talked about throughout the course of the Olympics, you got to pass the ball right up to the net. Easy side-out opportunities if you do that. Otherwise, you're going to struggle, particularly in these outdoor conditions.
Johnson and Hovland on the good side. Wind in their face on the left side of your screen. And Whitmarsh, there's a double contact called by Marvin Hall, the referee. So a throw called. Lewis and Whitmarsh off very slowly. Hav and Johnson got it going. Paul Sunderland back with you live at the Miller Lite Seal Beach Open. Tim Hovland and Adam Johnson out very quickly against Brian Lewis and Mike Whitmarsh. Lewis and Whitmarsh now going to the good side, however.
Well, they're downwind. They should be able to side out with much greater ease now that they're on the good side. The question is, can they take advantage and get back into the ball game on the scoreboard? There you see much better ball control from Mike Whitmarsh.
Brian Lewis became interested in volleyball after watching the 1984 Olympic Games. 1985, he was 16 years old, started playing at Corona Del Mar High School out here in California. 1989, he played in his first event, took a 9th in Tucson, Arizona. And today, he's 3rd on the money list, $88,000. Whitmarsh. Get up there over. And Whitmarsh touched the net. So Hovland and Johnson get the ball. They have the lead 4-1.
Tim Hovland just trying to survive the tight set. Adam Johnson setting the ball too close to the net. You have got to keep the ball away from the big block of Mike Whitmarsh. Tim Hovland just poking, trying to do everything he can to survive up there.
Tim Hovland, he's 33 years old, 11th on the computer. Trying to get a victory. First time in over a year. He knows he needs a semi-final win to have that chance. Tournament wide open right now. Karch Garay and Kent Steffes have already lost. Sinjin Smith and Randy Stokos. If you did not hear the news, they are playing in an FIVB, an international tournament in Spain this weekend. So the Kings of the Beach, the reigning Kings of the Beach, are in Spain. Garay and Steffes having all kinds of problems. They're in the contenders bracket, and some new faces.
This is a wide open tournament. Both of these teams know it. The winner of this match really in a great position to win this tournament. Very, very important confrontation.
4 serving 1. Johnson not jump serving when the wind is at his back. Working on Whitmarsh. And Hovland stuffs him. Pretty nice block by Tim Hovland. He's been blocking well all day.
Had 7 stuff blocks in the quarterfinal leading up to this confrontation. And Mike Whitmarsh at 6'7". Where does he go with the ball? Straight into Tim Hovland. You can see how high Tim Hovland gets over the net, pressing into the cross court to get Mike Whitmarsh for the stop.
Adam Johnson started the year with Kent Steffes, won 2 early tournaments. Then Karch Garay came back and grabbed Steffes. So Johnson waited for Ludes to come back, played with him. They did not play very well. Could not get their act together. Johnson been looking for a partner, and maybe Hovland is it. As Whitmarsh taps it down the line.
Adam Johnson went with a small partner, Brent Frohoff, instead of the big guy, little guy theory, and they have very good ball control, but that didn't prove to be a very successful combination either. I think this is a good matchup for Adam Johnson, and it's really good for Tim Hovland. I think it will really fire Hovland up for the finishing stretch of this season on the beach.
Whitmarsh, his first United States win in New Orleans over Karch Garay and Kent Steffes.
Go, go!
Lewis has it. Looking for a point and getting it.
Very important for Lewis and Whitmarsh to break through on the good side. Good side, bad side, you got to execute. Right here, Brian Lewis stretching out, making the dig, then getting up quickly and hammering up the middle. He's got a great arm swing.
Mike Whitmarsh, 30 years old. As Paul told you, the former basketball player. And he has it now. Can he slam dunk one? He jams it. Whitmarsh averaged 17.5 points a game his senior year at the University of San Diego, Division I. They made the playoffs. He was named the co-player of the year with John Stockton out of Gonzaga.
Not bad company, member of the Dream Team. Went over and played in Berlin for a couple of years, was so successful he got a tryout with the Minnesota Timberwolves and was the last player cut. 1 player away from being in the NBA.
Tim Hovland going right over the top. So Hovland will have the ball. If you're talking about personality, Tim Hovland has it. He's also very explosive. Give you an example. One time, playing in a collegiate match at USC, a fan heckling him, talking trash all match long, heckling. Near the end of the match, Hovland says to the guy, look, meet me outside, we'll discuss my performance. They go outside, Hovland pummels him and sends him to the hospital. He just beat him up.
Tim Hovland is like a Bob Samuelson, but just with more hair. Very fiery, competitive, and speaks his mind.
Although Hovland now, he's a family man, married, has a couple of kids.
Are you saying he doesn't have as much hair as he used to? Is that it?
Said he was married, not harried. Brian Lewis to serve. His team trailing 3-5. Nice dig again by Lewis. Look at that. And look at that on the line. Oh, they're going to call it out.
That ball's in.
And Lewis says it's in.
That ball is in.
Ball's out. Wait, let's go.
There's no linesmen. Where are the lines people?
We're in a semifinal match. Great dig here. Look at the wind moving the ball around. We've got a pokey going deep. And Hovland stretched out. You cannot tell, obviously, from that angle whether or not the ball is in. Let's take another look here. Cannot see the line, but I'll tell you, Chris, I think both of us called it exactly at the right time with the right call. That ball is in by a foot.
I agree. Let's listen.
Wait, 10 seconds. 10 seconds left. That's not the mark, Louis. I saw it. Wait, the ball's about this far.
Another look.
You need to look at it. That's not the mark. Let's go.
Here's Whitmarsh bumping the ball up. Now, where does this ball land? Yeah,
that's in.
In.
That looks like it's on the line.
That ball is in.
Now, interestingly, because this is a semifinal, we must point out there are no linesmen. If this were a final, there would be people on the lines. Would there not?
Well, I'm sorry. There should be now.
Right. Okay, here we go. That was an important point. That would have been 4. And Whitmarsh taps it inside. So Brian Lewis still jawing at Marvin Hall, still going after him. Marvin Hall is an excellent official, but I tell you right now, he cannot see what mark that is at the back line 30 feet away. There's no way.
And also, he's watching for nets, ball handling violations. Tight set once again, and Whitmarsh over the top. Adam Johnson setting Tim Hovland much too close to the net. But, you know, you've got to get some linesmen out here to help with these calls. Remember, I talked about setting the ball too close? This is the result. Look how high Mike Whitmarsh is over the knuckler of Tim Hovland.
Whitmarsh said he was a great shooter, but he's got some inside ability, too. You get that ball too close, and he can get it. Hovland snaps it through. 5-4 is our score. Just under 6.5 minutes to go in the game. Chris Marlowe and Paul Sunderland. Live Pro Beach Volleyball. Adam Johnson and Tim Hovland. Mike Whitmarsh and Brian Lewis. It's 1 game to 15. However, if the clock does run out, you only have to be ahead by 1 point. If the two teams were tied, we'd go to sudden death. Next point wins. Lewis down the line. So after an early shaky start by Lewis and Whitmarsh, they get over to the good side and make it pay off.
Well, they're getting to the good side. Now is a chance for them to get into a good, confident rhythm. Pass the ball, set the ball. But then what they must do is carry that confidence over to the bad side. The team that scores the most points from the bad side going to win this semifinal.
Get out of here! Come on!
The side out.
Brian Lewis just waffling the jump serve, and that's a much bigger weapon into the wind. Dives, changes direction, and Brian Lewis has got as many jump serves as he does surfboards, and he's got 7 of those.
Lewis. And it's out of bounds off Hovland. So Brian Lewis taps it off his old partner. Animosity, Lewis and Hovland?
No, you know, I've asked all the players this week because there have been so many changes out on tour, and they said, look, it's part of the business. You can't burn your bridges. You might dump somebody 1 week and want to play again with them 3 weeks later. And you just have to go about the business and take care of it and play the best you can.
Johnson showing his power on the right side, the 1986 NCAA Player of the Year. Once upon a time, he was on the USA national team, but they couldn't support him. He got an offer to go to Italy for $100,000, went in and said, look, if you pay my expenses, I'll stay on the USA national team. They said they couldn't. He went to Europe, and he was banned for life. Is that ban still in?
No. He's no longer
a long lifetime.
He's no longer on death row terminal suspension. I would say that Adam Johnson is welcome back to the national team anytime he wants.
Hovland.
Gotta go! Go! Go!
And Lewis shoots it over. Johnson to put his team ahead. And he'll get it. So Adam Johnson and Tim Hovland, they do what they need to do. They get a point on the bad side, 6-4. We'll be back after these messages from your local stations. To grow up to be a professional beach volleyball, not a bad profession. Kent Steffes, $180,000 so far. Karai, $149,000. Lewis, $88,000. St. John Smith and Randy Stokos dropping down this year, but still having a good year. As action continues, and keep in mind the 3 or 4 biggest tournaments of the year are coming right up. Over $1 million in prize money
Yet to come. And of course, there's the Miller Lite Grand Prix bonus pool, of which so much money will be doled out to all the top players. $500,000 overall. These players make a lot of money from endorsements as well. So needless to say, if we had to do it over again, go play in Italy, make whatever you can get, and then come back and spend it on the beach.
Just tell our parents to hold on for a second. Okay, Brian Lewis, his team behind early. 4-1, rebounded. Didn't get much of a help at that controversial call at 5-3. That would have made it 4-5, but they still got over onto the bad side. 6-4 is our score. Johnson serving.
Watch coming.
And Whitmar showing his range.
Brian Lewis is great, I think, in these kind of conditions. Has wonderful ability to set the ball either with his hands or bump set the ball with the wind. It's just going to be a question now in these conditions which team can tough it out.
Hovland. And Tim Hovland puts it down. So long. He played with the great Mike Dodd. Hovland and Dodd, winners of more tournaments together as a team than any other team in the history of Pro Beach Volleyball, with the exception of St. John Smith and Randy Stokos. Been very, very steady. Always in the winner's circle. Hasn't won lately, but always a contender.
They have not won together in a long, long time, dating back not to 1991, but to 1990, and played some events this year, but have gone their separate ways. And both teams doing extremely well right now.
Working on Lewis. And Hovland has it. Looking to go to 7. And he does. Lift is called. Hovland gets the 7 point.
Now, it's not a violation that Mike Whitmarsh hit the ball twice in a row. You can do that as the blocker. Watch right here. Tight set. Whitmarsh is there, reaches out the ball, gets inside him, and then he kind of high-lies the ball out. Really came to rest. He scooped it out. That's the violation.
We're late in the summer. 24 events on the AVP Pro Tour. We told you about the big ones coming up. 21 have already been played. Of course, Karai and Steffes have won the majority. But today, they did not look so good. They were upset as Johnson gobbles one up, looking for 8, and he munches it. A.J. flying out of the sand and putting it away.
What can Adam Johnson do from the right side, just like he does from the left after you play defense, even against 6'7" Mike Whitmarsh, just pinging it cross court.
Give Hovland the assist on the set, and a timeout taken by Brian Lewis and Mike Whitmarsh. So an 8-4 lead for Hovland and Johnson is such an advantage to get off a fast start when it's hot and the conditions are like this.
Well, all of a sudden you feel more comfortable. You haven't exerted a great deal of energy to get on the scoreboard and to go out to that big lead. And also, Adam Johnson and Tim Hovland were on the good side to start, and so far 9 out of the 12 points on the scoreboard have happened from the good side, right where Adam Johnson and Tim Hovland are now.
Brian Lewis, one of the unique records in Pro Beach Volleyball. Only 2 father-son combos to both win open tournaments. Brian Lewis Sr., Brian Lewis Jr., and Gene and Dane Selzman. So Brian Lewis winning his first this year, and his father won only one. He won it with former basketball player John Valley, the 1970 Santa Cruz Open. John Valley, there's a name, great name. So to snap down Brian Lewis, you know, we had talked about the $30,000 he won in that Clearwater tournament. He was such a celebrity at the victory party. A woman said to him, "Look, I'll give you $60 for your T-shirt." He said, "Take it." He whipped it off, gave it to her. She ran around, and he was bare-chested the rest of the night.
He forgot how much money he just won. Figured that was a pretty good deal. He went from $38,000 the year before to $30,000 in one weekend.
Whitmarsh up high. Whit has taken off his shirt. Now, we should tell you that Mike Whitmarsh in the past has had problems with dehydration and heat, so we'll have to keep a lookout on him.
No problem here getting up and over. Look at him. He's getting his head and armpits over the net, jumping out of the deep sand here at Seal Beach. You really have to be careful when you're dealing with Mike Whitmarsh.
8-5. Johnson sneaks one through. So Johnson hitting low, the 5th kill for AJ. You're wondering about Ricky Ludes. He is playing in this tournament with Brent Frohoff. Still has a chance to qualify, depending on his results today. All new teams this week trying to challenge Karch-Kiraly and Kent Steffens. Whitmarsh and right to Johnson. Lewis with a dig. Whitmarsh touched the net. Lewis made the dig, but Whitmarsh caught his elbow.
Right now, Mike Whitmarsh has got to raise the level of his play. He's having all kinds of trouble passing Adam Johnson's jump serve. And here, his partner, Brian Lewis, with the perfect overhand dig. Whitmarsh netted earlier there. You see him looking over at the umpire, not making the plays.
Johnson serving, leading 9-5. Trouble. As Hovland gobbles it up, looking for 10.
Lewis going to block.
And Hovland and Johnson do indeed get 10 as Lewis goes down. So Hovland and Johnson pouring it on the good side. 4 minutes, 51 seconds to go in the game. 10-5. Hobby Johnson. And Paul Sunderland, 11 points scored on the good side, the left side of the court, only 4 on the bad side. Now Johnson and Hovland going. The bad side is near us right now. Johnson and Hovland on it. They just need to get 1 or 2, don't they?
Get a couple of points. That's a very good split when the wind conditions are like this. Hovland blocking the ball early. He has so much experience, and Adam Johnson playing great defense.
Fabulous dig by Johnson, but Whitmarsh rejects back.
If Whitmarsh and Lewis have any chance, they must make their move. They have to get at least 4 of the 5 on the good side. Brian Lewis going high, and look at Tim Hovland way into the cross court, slapping the ball down. Whitmarsh, Adam Johnson, just like he played defense all last year, I think took over the role as the top defensive player out on the beach last year. And then Whitmarsh flopping his arms around and getting lucky here with the final stop.
Talked a lot about Mike Whitmarsh's basketball career. You said he played in Berlin last year. Well, his Berlin club team said last year they needed him for 1 game. They paid him $10,000 to fly over and play. He said he scored 44, but his team lost by 50. He's a team player.
Ask him if he'd go this year. He says, I don't know if I'd miss a tournament again. I'm doing okay out on the beach.
Johnson and Hovland, a brand new team. First time they've ever played together. Same with Whitmarsh and Lewis. So Hovland will put the ball in play. 59 career titles. The only men ahead of him, St. John Smith, Randy Stoklos, and the retired Ron Von Hagen. And Lewis pops it out of bounds. So surprisingly, Brian Lewis can't convert, and now 11-5.
No excuse for that. Good pass, good set by Big Mike Whitmarsh, and Brian Lewis just drilled it out of bounds.
Hovland and Johnson, and now a timeout taken by Mike Whitmarsh and Brian Lewis.
Fort Worth, it was in the 70s. At Seal Beach today, it's probably in the low 80s.
11-5. Hov and Johnson have the lead. Lewis. And he snaps one through. So Brian Lewis has to start cranking it up. He has 8 kills, but the key, as you said early in the match ball, is his jump serve.
And especially from the good side. Brian Lewis was automatic from the good side for 5 or 6 points during the course of a match, and he has yet to really have an impact with that, his biggest weapon.
Oh, he just missed there. And once again, no linesman on the play. Marvin Hall after making the call. So Hall makes the call, and AJ has the ball.
Keep going, keep going.
Johnson serving.
You good? One.
Lewis off Hovland.
Brian Lewis returns the favor, going hard off the hands of Tim.
So Whitmarsh and Lewis.
To Lewis and Whitmarsh.
Whitmarsh will put the ball in play. 5th with Ricky Ludes last week. If you're wondering, you can change teams at any time on the Pro Beach Volleyball Tour. It's advisable to stay with your own guy. Lewis off the net, that's okay. And Louis jams Hovland. Little big man.
Brian Lewis does an awful lot of surfing in the off-season. Big, strong upper body from all that paddling, catching those waves, riding those tubes. And here he is off the defense, and then Mike Whitmarsh at 6'7". Now, who's stronger? Who can push the hardest? This time it's Brian Lewis.
So Louis jams one through on Tim Hovland. All of a sudden, it's 6 serving 11. 4 minutes, 4 seconds to go in the game.
Go, go.
Right to Lewis. See if he can gobble another one up here.
Good. Come on.
Hovland to save a point. And both teams playing patty cake. Louis. Yes.
Lewis and Whitmarsh making their move from the good side, but Tim Hovland, with all his years of experience, really making a bad shot. Just cupped the ball right to Brian Lewis for the easy point scoring opportunity.
A little earlier in the day, we had talked about heat. Maybe not the hottest tournament of the year, but certainly the hottest sand, Paul.
Well, you know, this sand just reflects the heat up to the players, but at the same time absorbs it into the ground. So you're just getting it killed from both directions, from the top down. And we've got a little bit of a breeze right now, but because of the stadium configuration, the players are just roasting out here, using their timeouts. Whitmarsh and Lewis have already used 3 out of their 4. There's the thermometer now. And it is still way up there, over 90 degrees. And you can see the sweat just glistening off the back of Tim Hovland. Who can tough it out? Who can tough it out because of the wind? Who can tough it out because of the heat? We'll go on into the finals of this tournament.
132 wins. You look at Tim Hovland in 4th place, followed by Mike Dodd and Karch Karai right behind Dodd. So it's a 3-way race. All 3 players trying to catch Ron Von Hagen. Louis with a dig, but that one going out of bounds. So Adam Johnson, a little surprising that Lewis and Whitmarsh would serve Johnson after they just dug Hovland twice.
Well, you know, there's just no explaining sometimes.
Is that a strategy error?
No, absolutely. That is a mistake. When you get a couple of points off a player and he's struggling with the wind on the bad side, you've got to stay on him. You're scoring points for a reason. Stay right on that same player.
Hovland and Johnson have led all the way.
I don't know. Come on.
Whitmarsh, and he taps it off high. So Hovland can't jam that one down, and the ball going to Whitmarsh and Lewis.
Watch for Brian Lewis to take the center runway. He can serve from the right side, up the middle, or from the left. Going to go screwball, I think, back to Tim Hovland here.
Good snap ace.
Brian Lewis knew that he was not having the impact on this match that he should. Here it is, inside out, using the wind, right up the middle, almost our first husband and wife. Sign of kind of a new team. That serve up the middle is hard for these new teams to figure out. You really have to communicate.
Hovland and Johnson led by 6. The lead has been cut to 3. 3 points in the last 30 seconds, looking for 4. Little Louis going for the crank. Dink. Not yet. AJ out of bounds. So Lewis and Whitmarsh get another point. They do what they have to do. They ride the wave on the good side. 11-9 is our score. Hov Johnson still by 2.
They trail now by 2, 9-11.
Marlowe and Paul Sunderland, 3 minutes, 22 seconds to play. Brian Lewis with a ball. And his teammate Mike Whitmarsh have scored 4 points in 42 seconds. As they attempt their comeback, they're trailing as Hovland punches one through. Hovland and Johnson led early, have led all the way, and lead by 2.
Well, the key here, you saw what Brian Lewis could do from the good side with his jump serve. What can Adam Johnson do? Lewis and Whitmarsh really have to increase their concentration and toughness right now, side the ball out.
Wind is huffing and puffing a lot. Whitmarsh into the net. So Whitmarsh can't convert. And the first point given up. And Johnson and Hovland now have 12.
Boy, unforced error, the story here. Good pass, good set. Take your pick of where you want to hit the ball, but just don't hit it in the bottom of the net. The line shot was open, as well as hitting the ball hard almost anywhere.
If that goes over, AJ would have had it. He was right there. Lewis.
Come on.
And the dig.
Come on.
Whitmarsh against Hovland. And Whit bangs one.
I think that's exactly what Mike Whitmarsh has got to do. Because of the wind, and because he's really only been a pro out here for a few years, he's just almost trying too hard. Use his physical ability, go up and bomb away. He's 6'7", can jump, And sure, he's hitting against a great blocker, Tim Hovland, but the way to get confidence and to get in a good rhythm is just start bombing the ball a little bit. He's very, very capable.
Won $62,000 last year. He's already won $63,000 so far this year. Whitmarsh with the monster jam. You get it close, he's going to tomahawk jam you.
It's like, you know, feeding airplanes to King Kong. You just can't let him get into range. And this is Adam Johnson with a ball control mistake. Good pass by Tim Hovland and just an overshank by Adam Johnson. And Mike Whitmarsh gobbles it up.
So Johnson went down, and I think he has to be ready for that, Paul, quite frankly, because when Whitmarsh is close at the net, he doesn't jam it straight down. He jams it into the back of the court.
Well, it's smart. All the players are sucked up underneath the net to cover hitters and play defense. You know, if you've got a nice sitting block up there, go to the deep court.
Under 3 minutes, 10 serving 12.
Tight again.
Sneaking it through.
Come on.
Hovland,
Tight again.
trouble. And out of the reach. So Hovland doing a good job. And Adam Johnson punching himself in the head. He knows he made a setting mistake.
It just gave himself a cross-body chop to his head, I should say. But look at this, just jousting at the net. Brian Lewis stretched out, but Hovland, all the years of experience really paying dividends right now, trying to find some way to get the ball by. Hovland, his first tournament all the way back in 1979 with none other than Karch Kirai. So he's been through the wars for a long, long time.
Tim Hovland, third all-time career money, $786,000. Still more to be made out there.
That's you.
Lewis got it. How much does it help Hovland to have played with Lewis the last couple of weeks in terms of blocking?
I don't think it helps him having played with him so much, because you're setting the ball and then you're watching the blocker. You're not really watching your own hitter. But Brian Lewis played with Pat Powers earlier in the summer and faced Tim Hovland a number of times. It's that memory that will help.
Trying to get it off Whitmarsh. He's got one. And he can't scoop it over. 4 contacts. A little surprised. The inexperience of Whitmarsh showing a bit there. He should have gone up and tried to knuckle it down.
Absolutely. Got to knuckle that ball over. Getting lots and lots of chances to score. Right now, Adam Johnson and Tim Hovland struggling surprisingly on the good side. And it's Whitmarsh and Lewis who are still trail because they have not been able to convert.
This is the Miller Lite Seal Beach Open. Semi-final action. Johnson and Hovland. Whitmarsh and Lewis. Karch Kirai and Kent Steffes upset today as Whit makes a fabulous save by Tim Walmer and Scott Friedrichsen. Looking for a point. Bad set and a horrible hit. So Johnson and Hovland foul up. An easy play.
That's 3 bad sets from the good side, and give a lot of credit to Brian Lewis and Mike Whitmarsh hustling, chasing this ball down off the jump serve on the good side. Mike Whitmarsh goes down. Now watch this. Where are you going to get up? He'll hop right over, and Brian Lewis keeps the ball in play. Now Adam Johnson and Tim Hovland should score here, but Adam Johnson shanks the ball straight out of bounds.
I think Whitmarsh and Lewis should take a timeout right now. Whitmarsh moving very, very slowly, making a long run. He's only used up 1 timeout. Why not use up? Oh, check that. They've used up 3. Okay, so that's why he's not taking his last timeout. And he'll stay up there, trying to hang in here against Hovland and Johnson. Got it. Looking for Lewis for help.
Come here. Hurry.
Lewis should stay and block. Yep.
And not too effectively as Hovland goes right over the top.
I tell you, Mike Whitmarsh doing a lot of scrambling around. Tim Hovland and Adam Johnson have only used 1 timeout. They have 3 remaining. And as you pointed out, Chris, Lewis and Whitmarsh with only 1 left. They can't take it now. As gassed as Mike Whitmarsh is, he's going to have to suck it up here a little bit.
Tim Hovland. Indoor grade and beach grade. One of only 4 players to win the Italian championship. Karch Kirai, Steve Timmons, Doug Partee being the other.
Line. Come on.
Off Whitmarsh.
Off Hovland's face.
Has a chance for a save, and he gets it. Yeah, these players are so sweaty, and they're going down. Adam Johnson has Desert Storm type sand on him.
Just completely covered from head to toe. Where does Tim Hovland block this ball? Yeah, that's what happens when you get your mug over the net. You get facialed. He throws the sunglasses away, and then Mike Whitmarsh with the tap down. But Adam Johnson is just caked. Have to give the players a brief bit of time to towel off. Really, really hard to pass, set, or just play the game with about 4 pounds of sand all over you in Adam Johnson's case.
So Brian Lewis with 1:57 left on the clock. And now timeout taken by Johnson and Hovland. So they take a timeout. Good news for Whitmarsh, who goes over and sits down immediately. If Lewis and Whitmarsh could get a point or two here and go over to the good side, they'd be right back in it. Lewis. And trouble. Whitmarsh.
Gotta come.
And there it goes. Louis hammers for a point.
Tell you, this is not Tim Hovland's fault right now. He may be the end product having to hit the ball, but Adam Johnson is setting the ball too close to the net. You have got to keep the ball away from Mike Whitmarsh.
1:50 to go. 11 serving 12. 6 out of the last 7 for Lewis and Whitmarsh. 2 timeouts remaining and available for Hovland and Johnson.
That's a good set.
But Louis is there to tie it up. Can he do it? Yes, he can.
Mike Whitmarsh had been doing most of the work because of the poor setting. This time his partner Brian Lewis with a perfect dig and then ripping the ball off Tim Hovland. Whooping it up indeed. One of the youngest players out on tour. This would be a big victory. We talked about the revenge factor. Tim Hovland, his partner until last Sunday, and then he got dumped on Monday.
12-12, the first tie since 1-1. Hovland and Johnson perhaps running out of a little steam. Maybe. Tim Hovland, certainly one of the oldest players on tour. St. John Smith, John Stevenson, 35 today. Dodd and Powers, who are playing in this tournament and doing very well. Andrew Smith, Mark Eller. Hovland, a ripe 33 years old. Still in tremendous shape, however.
I asked Tim Hovland about retiring. He says, they're going to have to drag me out of here. You know, where can I make this much money, have this much fun, travel all over the world? They're going to have to drag me off.
12-12, 1:42 to go. Crowd getting into it now. Semi-final action. Chris Marlowe and Paul Sunderland with you. Hovland got it. And Hovland screams in the face of Mike Whitmarsh.
Talk about a key side out. Side out, you gain possession of the volleyball. Of course, you can only score when you're serving, so obviously it's very important. Big scoring opportunity for Adam Johnson from the good side.
Lewis and Whitmarsh in great shape, however. Even if they give up one, they go to the good side. Lewis. Dug by Johnson. Pretty good set.
For Mike Whitmarsh.
Whitmarsh was there. Nothing Johnson could do. It was a jump ball between Scottie Pippen and Paul Sunderland.
No, but I win that jump ball. They're talking about David Robinson, maybe. But Tim Hovland going for the spin bump set up into the wind, taking a chance off the good dig. Nothing wrong with that. Just talk about how precise you have to be with your ball control. A mistake of 6 inches, and Whitmarsh scores with it.
Once again, final action tomorrow here on NBC. Now Hovland,
that's too tight.
Lewis has it. Gotta go. 12-12. Johnson saves a point. 9 kills for Adam Johnson.
By AJ from the right side, good for a side out.
So Hovland huffing and puffing will serve.
1 minute 17 seconds remaining.
3-day tournament here in Seal Beach.
Because on the Pro Beach Tour, you change sides multiples of 5 with a score tied here at 12 all. Even if Hovland and Adam Johnson take a lead here 13-12, I think Whitmarsh and Lewis have the advantage because they'd only be down 1 going to the good side.
That's trouble. Lewis pokes it out of bounds. So Hovland and Johnson get an easy point. We're going to switch sides. 1 minute and 8 seconds to go in this game. 13-12. Hovland and Johnson have the lead. Sorry, we will not be able to show you the end of this match. We only have 35 seconds before we go off the air, but we will have more Miller Lite Pro Beach Volleyball for you tomorrow, our championship final for the Miller Lite Seal Beach Open. We will be there for you. Johnson and Tim Hovland up against Whitmarsh and Brian Lewis. We hope you enjoyed what live volleyball we were able to show you today. We were glad to bring it to you here from Seal Beach. For Paul Sunderland, I'm Chris Marlowe. We hope you tune in tomorrow as Johnson and Hovland have a 1-point lead with 48 seconds remaining in this match. That's all the action. We apologize. That's all we can show you. For Paul Sunderland, I'm Chris Marlowe. So long from...